We are live.
Well, that's good to hear.
How are you doing, my friend?
I am doing well. I am doing well. The weather's beautiful and life is gorgeous.
Awesome. Yeah, things are progressing on my side, continually trying to empower these athletes across the board. And I'm living in my purpose. So can't get much better than that.
Yeah, 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 yeah. What could you share that like in the last maybe week or two or three that has opened up for you?
Athletes really having a thirst for the information and application of it, but they never knew where to
Mhm.
go. And now they see that in me.
Uh-huh. So say a little more about that.
What I'm finding is that the landscape's changed. We all agree that, they can be paid for their name, image, likeness, and they understand that doing things they've always done isn't necessarily going to get them a new outcome, right? And I think what's happening is they're more curious than ever because they
Mhm.
see potential. They're just unconsciously incompetent to some of these concepts where being an athlete more than prepares you for all of it. And it's how do you transition those transferable skills because they're one and the same. They just may have like a different package to it. So
Yeah,
instead of like the siloed view of it, now they're starting to see conversations that I'm having and like, what's your failure resume? I don't want to know I am great, you are not. So I put out there, I'm like, I want to know your failure resume in an interview. I want to know how you handle adversity. And people just like really drew on to that. And they're saying, well, wait a minute, you're promoting failure. And I said, well, I'm promoting an environment for you to test your boundaries every day. Yes.
yeah, you're really promoting consciousness.
Yes. And it can be wrapped in whatever word that punches you in the face to now pay attention. Fine. I'll use the word failure, the word that everyone
Mhm.
thinks has this negative connotation. In failure comes learning. I haven't met a person yet that between success and failing, what has taught them more? What's been their most
Oh,
precious takeaway?
well, where is the growth?
It's in the failing.
You know, if you pick up a heavy weight and like you're doing curls,
Mhm.
you do curls to failure, it's when you get to failure that it actually causes the tear of the muscle and the growth. So failure is the access to growth.
And because I'm starting to be a little bit more vocal with that aspect,
Mhm.
and because I, was a former athlete, and because I did the corporate thing, and because I wasn't afraid to leave the corporate thing that was very lucrative, they're starting to say, oh, well, hold on. Maybe she's onto something, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, that's really sure. You get to a point where I mean the conversation that you're having is at the intersection of looking good and growth.
Mhm.
So I can actually stop just before I get to the intersection and be in the looking good modality, or I could take it to failure because that's the cross street, and that's where the growth occurs. So what we're trying to do is, the thing about it is if you are an athlete and you're going over into another field, or
Mhm.
you are a business person and you are kind of designing yourself and opening up and creating yourself, how you are in one part of your life is how you are everywhere.
Bingo.
And what we want to do is we want to get people conscious to and responsible for that how they are is actually pushing themselves to the point where they are causing growth for themselves and for the other people around them.
I like that. And it really builds off of multiple things we've been discussing over the last couple
Mhm.
weeks,
Mhm.
right? In terms of, I love the be here now. And I literally have it written everywhere because moments where I start feeling a spiral or I feel anxiety or anything, I'm just be present now. Like feel
Yeah.
it, be in it. It's okay to be how you are, right? And
Yeah.
Stop thinking about, well, what are other people's perspective of it? Or I have all these other things to do. Be present in where you're at now. And then furthermore, how you expanded and challenged that next level, right? That adolescent to, more of a mature conversation of it's even bigger than be here now. It's the be do have. And what are the different aspects within those, and why do you have the anxiety? It's because it's a little out of whack. And as athletes, we're really good at the do. We're really good at the actions of things. And we're really good at outcome, right? We want to win. Our focus, win, win, win. That's the result, right? We're going after that. What happens is sometimes we forget about the 1% days. We're disciplined, we do things, but we don't translate how we do that in the athletic realm into life. Really.
Yes. Yes. And, and you take a look at it, like you used the word focus a moment ago.
Mhm.
And you say, well, we want to win, and we're focused on the win, and so on like that. And I think actually it's something even more precise and even more uh, uh, even more finite or more granulated than I'm focused on the win.
Mhm.
The win is an outcome. Win is the have in the be do have mantra, and so on like that. But what athletes are really good at doing is focusing on the doing. And if they can, the more they can be, when your coach tells you, or you tell yourself, or whatever, that what you need to do is you need to focus.
Mhm.
Really, what you need to say is I need to be present to the requirements of everything right now here. Be here now. And so in that being, we can call it focused, because that's kind of part of the language of what we use when we're building ourselves up
Mhm.
athletically, or when we're going for whatever it is. But I just want to say that while the promise of powerful focus and effective focus is the win,
Mhm.
that's not what I'm focused on. What I'm really focused on is literally what they say in Zen. They say this interesting thing. They say, "What's the secret of happiness?" And the Zen master said, "Chop wood, carry water. Chop wood, carry water." And he said, "And when you are successful, then what do I do?" He said, "Chop wood, carry water." In other words, if you're a football player, blocking and tackling, running your routes.
Mhm.
If you are, throwing, catching, sliding, running in baseball.
Mhm.
It depends on what it is the activity. So you take a look and you say, what are the in the be here now? What are the qualities that would have me really excel in the here and now of what it is I'm doing,
Mhm.
and chop wood and carry water in that area.
I like that. I like that. And it really does make sense, because I've had this conversation with a couple of athletes, and we've been toggling and having great thoughtful debate, which, John, to me that's like home run when you have thoughtful debate with
Yeah.
people, because you're bringing perspectives. And it's it's always interesting to me how athletes feel like they create patterns in their head, and because they create the
Mhm.
patterns in their head, they can anticipate an outcome, which helps in game, right? If I see this position player pull up, there's more space in the backfield, where's the safety, or man to man versus zone, how you change the strategy of the game. I get it,
Mhm.
right? But it's not a finite way to always do things. So sometimes you're going to have to be man to man. Sometimes you're going to have to play some zone defense. And that's okay, right? Because you have to be present in the current circumstance, situation. You need to see where you fit in the grand scheme of your contribution. And maybe sometimes it is at the forefront and you're leading the pack. And sometimes you may be empowering someone else to really lead the pack, because they're more suited to be able to do that. Right.
Yeah,
And
you're so right on about all of that. And what it points to is, it points to the critical aspect of our being able to effectively partner with other people
Mhm.
and, partner with the other aspects of the game that we're playing. Whatever it is, it's a game. And what are the aspects of the game that I need to partner with effectively? Because it's just not that you get to do it and you're doing it all on your own. There's just no such thing as that.
Yeah, and you need to play the game, learn the rules, and correct. Like
That's right.
this is how we do life.
That's
And
right.
sports, this is another thing we have like a back and forth. A lot of athletes now, they're starting to regurgitate stuff they're hearing, but they're not understanding the introspective, the inner being aspect of it. And I will pause them and say, well, hold on, tell me
Mhm.
more.
I like that.
I'm not going to let you get away with just saying this. I want to understand why. And I want to understand 6 layers why. Because it sounds like a bunch of, as you would tell me, salad garbage. And I want to make sure that you truly are walking this walk. You're not talking this talk.
Yes.
Right. And, a lot of times athletes, we, we compartmentalize and we put out there like everything's great, everything's grand, right? In reality, internally, we're not. So we'll have, certain sayings out there that are, you know, I'm all in all the time, right?
Are all what all the time? Say that
Say,
again.
I'm all in all the time. I'm
All in,
all
all
in all the time.
oh, yeah, yeah, right. Yeah, geez, there is a technical term for that.
What is it?
Bullshit.
I figured you would say that. I was just waiting for you to say it. I actually could call that one. But it's just, it's I challenge that. Okay, well, tell me why. Tell me more. Why are you all in all the time? Right?
Mhm.
And then what we actually uncover is they're actually all out. So they go 100% for a burst of time.
That's right.
And that's very different than all in all the time. So let's de-link and differentiate the two.
It's totally, that's a totally it, and it's a great metaphor, people actually do feel that simply because they will actually put a burst in, they will sprint. They feel that like they should be rewarded in something that is the marathon of life, the marathon of your career. And it's fine. Okay, the sprinting part is fine. And I don't know what I can do, give you a glass of water, pat you on the head, stuff like that. But that does not actually cause a completion of the marathon.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I think the other component to that is the culture's changed.
The culture's
And
changed. Yes.
in my assessment, my opinion, based off of my experiences from when I was playing to where it's at now,
Uh-huh.
there's a softness to this culture of once it gets hard, you back off through weaving it under different umbrellas of words, right? And instead of going max out, failing, puking, really seeing your thresholds, really coming on that breakthrough. Because what I find is, as much as I would fear my strength and conditioning coach, every time I left, I was better. I learned
Yeah.
something
Yep.
new. And
Yep.
guess what? To the external world, they would never understand it. And they don't need to. Why? Because if I truly am a top 5% cut, then I need to lean in and be all in all the time, not when it suits me and I'm comfortable with it.
Yeah. Tom Landry, who coached the Dallas Cowboys for many years, had an interesting observation about the aspect of coaching that I think you just pointed to. He said that a coach is someone who tells you what you don't want to hear in order for you to be what you want to be. And that really, like you say, working with your strength and conditioning coach, if they were actually telling you what you didn't want to hear so that you could be who you wanted to be, they were doing their job.
Mhm.
too much in our culture, the way, like you said a little bit ago about the current day culture is kind of soft, is people fire their coach.
Mhm.
I don't want to hear that,
Yeah.
and they end up not taking themselves to what is possible for themselves, but what they could settle for.
Mhm.
In other words, that world of, like I said, looking good and stopping just before you get to the intersection of failure so that you correct and you grow.
Mhm. Yeah, and I think another component of this to build upon that is the reason I feel many people quit in the top 5% cut. I'm talking about the collegiate athletes.
Hmm.
Is they're so stuck in the do and the have, right? They see that result where like my strength and conditioning coach said I needed to go squat 350 pounds. So if I
Hmm.
only focus on I have to go straight to 350 pounds, it's going to seem very overwhelming, right? Because I'm going to look at the weight on the bar and say, holy crap,
Hmm.
that looks heavy. And now guess what goes? Now my mind goes. And guess what happens?
Hmm.
Now I'm spiraling. Now I am not being here now. So now
No.
I am taken away from something that I'm not present to, right? So what I have evolved myself, and this is what I'm helping other athletes see is remember, you warm up to that weight. You don't just go from cold to that weight. And guess what? If you don't hit 350, but you hit 325 and the best you've ever done is 280, you won. Everybody won. So
Hmm. Hmm.
stop thinking in terms of finite number, finite end result. Put goals that are so far out there. Put a vision, put a proclamation that is so crazy to other people that they can't even fathom to see it. And guess what? I bet you're going to get closer than you thought. And I could care less if it actually is 1 billion athletes or if it's 1.5 billion athletes or if it's 900 million athletes. It's
Hmm.
better. Every one athlete is better than none.
Everyone, indeed. And there's also something to be said going along with what you're saying about, putting the weight on the bar, is doing it every day, no matter what.
Yes. Yes.
I have a friend that I talk to, and he's a very spiritual kind of guy. And he took up about 1 year ago, he took up the practice of meditating.
Mm.
And in the beginning, I didn't really notice much in him that was different. I mean, he's an extraordinary nice guy, good guy, smart guy, spiritual guy. But he told me just the other day that he did his 365th day in a row of meditating. And by the way, interestingly enough, he does his meditating while walking. So he takes a walk and he does his meditating. And so he's getting a benefit on a couple of physical level as well as on the mental and spiritual level.
Mhm.
But I'll tell you, I'm talking to a different human being today than I was talking to a year ago or even 3 months ago
Mhm.
because he's doing it every day.
Yeah.
And he doesn't brag about it. He doesn't proclaim it or anything else like that. I mean, it was kind of almost as an accident that he told me that he had done 365 days in a row. But you could tell something was going on. What is it? And it was his practice, his virtuous practice of doing it day after day after day.
Yeah, and the best of the best, what really differentiates the best of the best from the pack is being able to do the mundane every single day at
But
the highest possible level. Every
yeah,
day, all
yeah.
the time.
Finding a way to have it be fascinating, finding a way to have it be interesting and exciting to do.
Yeah, that's really it. There's maybe a piece of the skill component, fine. I'm bought into that, but it's the everyday grind, the grit, the perseverance, the learning new parts of yourself, right? Like the other day, I ran and I ran a little bit more than I had at a better pace, at a better heart rate. Like all these things started to hit, which means the training that I've done thus far is really starting to take hold. But
That's right.
every day when I was looking at the individual progress, it felt like a plateau and it was so frustrating. And I'm hitting all my high performance athlete friend saying, listen, man, you're running like 30 miles at 120, beats per minute. And you're running at a 8.5 minute. Like I can't even fathom that. And they're like, well, stop thinking about my actions because I've been doing this for 10 years
Right.
every day. Like
Yep.
I don't take a day off. Or the day I have off, I'm in an ice bath recovering because the recovery aspect and the sleep aspect are very important to me. And it hit me because I'm an athlete. I have lived my life with that lens in softball quite extensively. I have been able to translate it into my professional capacity, and I've learned as I've gone. But as I tried a new endeavor in the sports world, for some reason, I didn't bring it back. How funny is that? Right? It's
Yeah.
like you have to live it all in all the time. So when I have conversations with athletes that claim that I'm all in versus all out, we have that distinction when they talk about, well, it's just so overwhelming. Everything's coming at me, right? They keep giving me more. They keep giving me more. They keep giving me more. Why am I at work? Why am I in this internship? And I came for this one thing, but now my role's expanded here, right? And they
Mm.
can't see the interconnectivity of what is the magnitude of what's happening. Right now, there are some people who will just take advantage of an athlete and a high performance person, right? You give something to a busy person to get it done. We've talked about that.
Yep.
But I approach life now with a true 1% better each day. And we talk about, the exercise, the attitude, the being able to rest and the nutrition. I'm living this every day in different components, and there's different layers of it. Like we talked about the nutrition side of it. Most people think of it at a surface level of just like what you put in your mouth. I want to
Right.
be surrounded by people
Exactly.
that pour into the cup and I pour into their cup, and it's nutritionist for us all. Right? It's just so expanded, and what happens is we get so stuck in siloing every part of our life, compartmentalizing every part of our
Mhm.
life instead of
Mhm. Mhm.
integrating and seeing how we can leverage and cross pollinate and cross train.
I think that's the real profound key that you get to, that you mature to when you kind of get that. Oh, it's, who I am in whatever area is who I am everywhere. And I just surrender into that I'm being that person all over the place. So wherever it is I sell out here, I sell out in other places. And for me to build up a kind of a conversation or a justification that, well, that's work and this is play and this is service and this is, whatever, is like, that's insane. Who you are is who you are everywhere you are.
Mm-hmm.
That is what it is meant by be in the be here now.
Yeah. And, you just triggered something that I have had conversations with athletes on, like those that are afraid of like public speaking or being in front of large crowds that aren't sports related. And I always say, hey, those games that are big games and there's a lot of, fans in the stands, like you get those butterflies and they're like, yeah. I'm like, okay, so when you speak, what do you get? Right? When you see that. And they're like, well, not only do I get butterflies, but my physical reaction because I start getting hot and then I'm nervous about being hot. So then the hives start forming and then I'm paying attention to the hives and less about being present. I said, bingo. So now that we know you react like that, think about game day. Game day, when you have your butterflies, hey, I'm going to be a little aggressive for the first minute. Maybe I'm going to be ambitious. Maybe I'll get that foul. But once I settle in, I'm in the zone, right? I said, well, let's do that in the public speaking because it's the same thing. It just looks a little different, right? So you know that you get the butterflies. You know what that feels like. You start getting hot. So maybe don't wear something that's long, right? You know kind of your physical reactions to things. You get hives. Okay. So how about instead of being a product of that environment, why don't you say, well, once I get the hives, I'm in the zone. Change your mindset. Because if all you're focused on is the hives and the different things that are happening to you,
Mhm.
right? That's all you're thinking about. You're not present in the moment. Think about that they're happening for you, and extend out that way. And it changed a lot of people's mindset on it. And I'm like, who cares? You think most people see the red? They don't. It's in your
No,
head. They don't.
no, they're so concerned with their own stuff anyway.
Right? So it's become one of those things where that's kind of like one of those, like, in my opinion, low hanging fruits of how you can transition the nerves in a game, um, where you make a mistake pass that you've always done well, but this time you flopped and now put you into overtime, and now you've had to overcome, and you can either spiral negatively, or you can realize that you can adapt, be resilient, and get back at it. Right? You can choose your hard. Like,
I think there's a lot to be said for in the preparation of how planning exactly how you're going to be in the first few moments of when the whistle blows and you're ready to go.
mm-hmm.
You stood there and you thought about it and you whatever else like that. But do you really have a plan? Do you really are you really locked in terms of your relationship to the other people? Do you actually know what you're going to do? And not only that, but have you communicated it? All right, first play of the game. Here's what I'm going to do.
Yeah.
Get yourself into the game.
Yeah.
Otherwise, the game, you were talking about that person that you were talking to who's saying, it's all coming at me so fast. Yeah, you have no plan.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And it's all about leveraging the moments where you've had your ability to be resilient, right? So you have those butterflies and you've turned that into actionable results that were positive, right? Like, okay, well, what are the different things that started to trigger to that? Right? And to your point, how do you then plan that and figure out how you can make those dominoes fall the way you want them to fall and create it, not wait for it? It's like it's the same thing. It's the same thing on a personal level with athletes. I'm like, sports is not who you are. It's what you do.
Mm-hmm.
And you're
Mm-hmm.
going to leverage the experiential skills and values that have been immersed through your time in your what you did, which have now helped create and curate who you are. But who you are is not the sport you played, it's what you did. So let's delink those right away.
Yes.
And I
Yes.
struggled with that.
Yeah. Well, that's a tough one for everybody. We grow up. Uh, I'm going to give you a little bit of an exercise right now that I think that you'll find applies to this. Hold your hand in front of your face. Hold your hand up. Okay. Now look at your hand.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Now I want you to say, I have a hand.
I have a hand.
You do, right? Now I want you to say, I am my hand.
I am my hand.
It's stupid, isn't it?
Yeah.
Now I want you to say, I am angry.
I am angry.
Now I want you to say, I have anger.
I have anger.
Now, where do you have the power? You have the power when you own it, when you have it. I have a hand and I have anger or I have joy or I have emotion or I have passion is way different than I am passionate. If it is I am passionate or I am angry, then anger overcomes me and it actually is coloring and affecting everything that I am doing rather than I have it and I'm managing it.
Yeah. I really like that one. I'm going to use that one. I really like that.
It's useful. It's very useful to kind of like, we don't think about it and we are actually trained to, and our language includes, I am angry. I'm really mad. This is the way I am. And it's no more the way you are than the man in the moon. It's what you have.
I like that a lot. Wow. I mean, I feel like that's such a great place to it just really encapsulated everything we just talked about in a very
Yeah.
easy exercise. And you know, I still am learning in my process as ever on being okay with the fact that sometimes I just don't get it right and I'm out of order. And the difference is being able to address it, see it, feel it, and correct it
Yeah.
instead of being
Yeah.
perfect. I don't want to be perfect.
Yes, well, that's doing it the way that you actually were designed as a mechanism, as an environment, as an ecology to do. It really is play the game, then learn the rules and correct. And one of the things that where we get really confused in life is we go to school and we learn the rules and then we go out to play the game. And then we wonder why it doesn't work or why we don't get much of an impact out of it. So we're learning backwards. The way that you actually learn is you learn by playing the game.
Yeah. Well,
And when quicker that we get, okay, so I've gone from being an athlete to being in business now.
mhm.
Play the game, learn the rules.
It really is right in front of us for us all to grab, right?
It
And
is.
the difference
It
is
is.
those who take the reins and understand how to apply it and know that it's going to be fluid and you have to be in flow. There is no balance in this. You fall forward fast, you get up. I don't care. I just want you to keep taking that one more step
That's
every
right.
time.
Well, and like you said, and the real point of what you were saying a little bit earlier is, go for that 1%. And I would even say, go for that 1% in every area every day.
Yeah, I like that. I like to expand that further. Yeah. Well, as ever, you always seem to not only inspire me, but get me to think a little bit more than I did before I came in, which is when you're in the right room. So I'm so grateful for you.
Always my honor, always my privilege. I really, really, really love being with you. Thank you.
All right. And let's continue to build stuff together and help empower people because what an
That's,
opportunity we have.
yeah, yeah. What else would you do?
I don't know. Well, have a good rest of your day. And as ever, thank you again.
Okay, dear. You take care.
Bye.
Bye.